And joining us now, pleased to have on the program with us today, Peter Martin. He is an agriculture business consultant with Pinion and Pinion Global. And Peter, thanks for joining us here on the show today. We appreciate the time. I hope you're doing well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for having me today. I'm excited for this.
Well, we are excited to pick your brain and talk a little bit about just optimizing our farm management, looking at everything we have going, our software, our books, thinking just about that farm business. And I know there's so much wrapped into our farm business. These days it's gone from, in most cases anyway, writing stuff down in notebooks and pieces of paper, on this cluttered desk in the farm, to a lot of stuff is moving online now. Just talk about just the first off, the kind of shift we've seen here in the last few years of moving a lot of our farm management online, and how maybe that's created some challenges for some folks, Peter.
Yeah, happy to do so. I think what we've largely seen, and this isn't new in agriculture. This has happened in just about every other industry out there. There's been a recognition that the offices of these businesses need to invest more sort of time and resources towards optimizing and to some degree modernizing those offices to really create a value add for that business. All too often, the farm office is viewed as sort of an afterthought, as yeah, we have to have it to comply with whether it's the bank or the IRS or some other reporting agency. We have to have it, not as the place that can actually be that, again, true competitive advantage. And as you indicated, what we're seeing is, again, offices of all industries start to not only move sort of online and into the cloud and sort of the Internet of Things, but really start to position themselves as a data hub for the entire business, the place that all of this information comes together, where all of it can really be standardized and all of it then be used to really better that operation, whether that means to get bigger, to be more profitable, to reduce risk, whatever better means for that particular operation.
Well, I think about it, Peter, just the amount of data that we have on our hands now. I mean, it's one of those things where there's so much of that out there to us that not only makes us that much more, efficient, but it's also, I mean, if you don't have a good way to organize it, it can make things very tough, especially I think come tax time. We're in tax season right now. I mean, it can make things year round very tough if you don't have some way to organize it, Peter.
That's right, and it's getting tougher and tougher every year. There was a stat that I heard from a speaker back in about 2017 that talked about half the world's data was created just the previous year. Well, that was in 2017. Fast forward to now and think about the rate in which data capture is occurring. And again, this can be sort of a double-edged sword here. I mean, on one hand, the operation that invests to really harness and capture and clean and standardize that data has something really great at their fingertips, has something really valuable, not only for them to make better decision and have to rely less on gut feel, but more on actual evidence from the information on their farm. On the other end of this, though, it's getting more difficult to capture and standardize and utilize that information because it's coming from everywhere on your farming operation. And we all know we're getting inundated from software platforms and hardware and sensors and all this other stuff. And I think a lot of people get to a level of sort of fatigue of, I don't even want to try to mess with this because there's so much happening. It doesn't really seem like all these things talk to each other, and it seems like it's coming at me faster and faster and faster each year. So many people start down the path of almost just saying, I'm going to ignore this until it's better developed, until these systems better communicate with each other. So you're really starting to see people take two paths, those that are embracing and saying, I have to figure it out, and those just saying, I'm just tired of it. I want it all to seamlessly connect before I go invest time and money and resources into it.
Well, thinking of that, I know groups, companies trying to figure out how to make this all work together, make this evolve, and get those people who maybe aren't quite as interested in using technology on the farm operation. I know Pinion's doing that with some new farm business management software. I'd love to talk about that if you wouldn't mind just sharing some details on what that is with us here, Peter, and why farmers and ranchers should really take a look at it.
Yeah, happy to do so. I appreciate that. So we've been for the last dozen years or so really trying to help farms get great information and get it in a more real time and accurate place. And the great news about the time that we're all living in right now is the systems finally exist today to really capture that information and start to marry it all up across the entire farming operation. So we came out with something called Pinion Integrated Office, which is all about bridging that divide between my financial information for my farm and then the operational information, and actually getting the two of those to marry up. The sort of holy grail in agriculture and in all industries really for that matter is how do I get the operational side of my business to really sync with my financials? How do I ensure that the information of what I sprayed on a particular field can literally come back and match up with a financial record, with my bank account, sort of the ultimate source of truth in my farming operation? And creating that connection is an incredibly complicated thing to do, primarily because you have multiple systems involved, and those systems have to have standardized ways to interact. They have to have standardized data sets. They have to have standardized naming conventions. So the example that I always use is with glyphosate. If we don't have our data sets between our operational and our financial information truly standardized, and we in our accounting records, for example, have 4 or 5 different glyphosates or Roundups or Roundup Power Max or other variants of that particular product, we're never going to be able to actually marry that up to the operational system that says where and how we use that glyphosate, because the names don't even match up. So the only way to really get the systems talking, to get to that holy grail we were talking about, is to really sort of reconfigure the farm office and your accounting records to make sure you have that level of standardization. And that's what Pinion IO is all about, is really trying to optimize a farm office to allow it to have great data capture, great standardized information, a really ag-focused, robust accounting platform that can deal with all of your inventory, payroll, bill pay, all of your common accounting functionality, but do that in a way that makes sure all of those systems are capable then of interacting with your operational information. So that in a nutshell is what Pinion IO is up to.
Well, Peter, great stuff. And I'm sure if folks want to learn more, they can probably do so easily online, pinionglobal.com. That I would bet that's a great place to start, isn't it?
Absolutely. There's a page on there devoted to Pinion IO, not only talking about what it is today, also talking about what we think some of the supply chain opportunities are for growers who take on this idea of really standardizing your back office, not just to do it for reporting purposes, but to do it to better your business and better the revenue generating opportunities in the supply chain as well.
Well, great stuff. We appreciate the time. Peter Martin with Pinion, thanks for joining us here today and telling us more, and we'll look forward to talking to you again in the future.
Thank you.